Okay, so good day to everyone. Tapos na ang midterms natin and I decided to bring back the video discussions for you. Well, in fact, you guys can still do individual learning. For this video discussion, we'll tackle 3 modules. So that's module number 13. That's module number... Oops, sorry. Module number 13, 14, and 15 hanggang completing on responsiveness. So if you guys don't have any plans of watching this video discussion, then you can stop right now and you can just study on your own modules number 13, 14, or 15. But if you want to hear my insights about the contents of module 13, 14, and 15, and so be it, you guys are free to watch this so that you guys can learn a little bit more and understand a little bit more, no? Kasi mas madali naman din talagang makaintindi ng isang lecture pag merong nagtuturo or merong nagdi-discuss. So with that being said, we'll try to talk about this module 13, 14, and 15 sa subject natin, HRM 139, Supply Chain Management. So let's start. First, I have to let you guys know that we have two types of supply chain, and itong two types of supply chain management na ito, they are highly customizable or highly pwede niyo siyang i-configure ng according to your necessities or preferences. Pero there are basically two types of supply chain, and that is the lean supply chain and the agile supply chain. So let's talk about lean first. When we talk about lean supply chain, a lean supply chain is supply chain operating at its very best. It supplies the goods or products to the end customer in the most efficient manner. Tandaan nyo, most efficient manner possible, with minimal waste, loss, and with enough flexibility that it can adapt to unexpected delays. So basically, when we talk about lean supplies, we are generating high volumes of a product, of a specific product, with a lower customizability or lower chances to configure or to customize. So more on volume, more on quantity. As much as possible, we are efficient. We are minimizing our cost, our losses, and with a little bit just enough room, no, just enough room for flexibility. Whereas compared with agile or the agile supply chain, ito actually makikita nyo, lean and agile, very very common common definition or common difference of lean and agile supply chain. Lean supply chain focuses on cutting costs by producing high volumes of products with low variability. An agile supply chain focuses on responding to the market demand with smaller customizable batch of items. So basically, ito na yun eh. Ang agile and lean supply chain. When we talk about agile supply chain, basically it has high variety of products with low volume lang ang kaya natin i-produce. Whereas pag lean supply chain naman ang i-adapt niyo sa business niyo, you are producing high volumes of a specific product with low variety. Basically, that's it. When we talk about lean and agile supply chains, agile supply chain is focuses more on the being flexible, no, being customizable according to the needs and wants of our market, of our target market, or of our customers. So if you as a business will adapt this agile supply chain management style, then it means to say that you are focusing or prioritizing the needs and wants of our customers, no? The demand, the market. So, it means to say, no, pag kayo ay mag-agile supply chain, pag agile supply chain ang i-adapt niyo sa business niyo, you have to have always a specific data. the data of the needs and wants of our market, of our customers. So all the time, almost all of the time, you have to conduct research. You have to study how the market moves. No, for example, if you guys are planning to have a food and beverage business, it's more on the agile supply chain, di ba? Kasi um, we always listen to the needs and wants of our customers. So a food and beverage establishment should conduct or should adapt to a agile supply chain management style. So pag ganun ang pag-uusapan, you have to always study about the current needs and wants of the market. Ano ba yung trends ngayon? Ano ba yung mga uso ngayon parating sa food and beverage establishments? Like say for example, milk tea shops, no? Ano ba ang uso ngayon sa milk tea shops? How can we further adapt to the needs and wants of our guests? So basically that's it, no? Agile supply chain. Whereas with lean supply chain naman, dito, for example, dito yung mga dilata, yung mga general merchandises natin. In fact, if you will see here the comparison of lean supply and agile supply, no? Typical products of a lean supply are commodities, whereas typical products with agile supply chain are the fashion goods, di ba? Uh, Pag-uusapan natin dito commodities, ito yung mga food natin, general merchandises, sa mga gamit sa bahay, di ba? They are all produced with high volumes, no, with little to no variety at all. Let's say for example, San Marino corn tuna only has what? Two varieties, spicy and original. Tapos parang meron na lang silang iba pang mga products na ini-introduce pa ngayon sa market. So they are producing high volumes of a specific product with little to no variety at all. When in fact, when we consider agile supply chain with fashion goods, di ba, clothing products are always changing, no? Depende kung ano yung mga uso ngayon. Like say for example, dati nauso yung mga ano ba, mga nauso dati. Yung pants na skinny, jogger pants, ganyan, jogger pants. And then nowadays, jogger pants are considered what? Too old already, or maybe sa old generation na siya, no? Nowadays, skinny jeans, ganyan, or straight cut up jeans, mga ganyan. So basically, agile supply chain, fashion goods, it the demand always changes. So we have to be flexible. We have to be customizable. We have to be responsive to the needs and wants of our market. Take note of that word, responsive. We will talk about that after a few while. So marketplace demand, more unpredictable pag lean supply. Of course, for example, commodities, no? Commodities, lahat naman kasi kumakain or lahat naman kasi may pangangailangan ng commodities. So basically, it's very predictable. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, very volatile, very active. It is very much active. It changes all the time, the market demand, no? Last year, ito ang uso. This year, ito naman ang uso ngayon. 6 months ago, ito ang uso. Ngayon, iba na ang uso ulit ngayon. And so on and so forth. Product variety, pinag-usapan na natin ito. Lean supply chains are often focusing on high volume of productivity with little to no room for variety at all. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, low volumes lang sila, konti lang ang pinoproduce sila kasi we are very much high in variety, more on customer driven kasi tayo. Product life cycle commodities are long, of course. When we say product life cycle, ito yung introductory, growth, climax, or yung pinaka peak, and then saturation or decline. So gaano ka haba yung panahon, yung product life cycle ng mga products sa lean supply? Of course, it's long, no? Basic commodities are always there. It's always a must to have, no? So you will expect that marami talagang bibili ng mga commodities, mga pagkain, mga gamit sa bahay, shampoo, ganyan, sabon, mga toothpaste, ganyan. These are commodities kasi. So they have long product life cycle. Syempre, mahaba ang buhay nila. Whereas compared with agile supply, since nakikisabay tayo sa uso, sa current trends ng mga market natin, our product life cycle is short. Mabilis malaos sa uso ang isang produkto. Mabilis naman mag race sa uso, mabilis siyang sumikat. So product life cycle is very short. Customer drivers, of course, the customer drivers, ibig sabihin dito kung ano yung nagde-drive sa customer para mag-decide kung ano yung kailangan nilang bilhin. Pag ang product na bibili ng customers is more on commodities or lean supply chain management, they are often considering the cost. Mahal ba ang isang produkto? Bibilihin ko ang Century Tuna, mas mahal ba ang Century Tuna sa San Marino corn tuna? Bibilin ko ang Pure Foods corn beef, mas mahal ba ang Pure Foods corn beef kesa sa Argentina? Customers who are buying commodities or lean, who are buying products who are applying a lean supply chain management style is more prioritizing cost, or ito yung parang pinaka customer driver to buy a specific product. Whereas compared with agile supply chain management, more on availability. We are looking for a specific shoe or we are looking for a specific pants. Ano ba yung mga available ngayon? Saan ako titingin? Anong brand ang hahanapin ko? 'Di ba? Ganun yung pinagkaiba nila. More oftentimes, if you will buy products who are under lean supply, ang customer driver mo or ang key point or yung decision mo, kung ano yung magbibigay sa'yo ng decision is more on the cost. Mahal ba or mura ang isang specific product. Whereas compared with pagbibili ka ng fashion goods who are applying an agile supply chain, more on availability ang magdadrive sa decision mo. Profit margin, low. Anong ibig sabihin ng profit margin natin? Ito yung kinikita natin sa isang produkto. 'Di ba guys? Sa isang produkto, we have our costs, 'di ba? Meron tayong mga gastos para ma-produce ang isang specific na bagay. If we are focusing on producing high volumes of a specific product with little to no variety at all, the profit margin more or less is very low. Of course, 'di ba? High volume nga kasi ang iyong pinoproduce. Maramihan, bultong-bultuan. So you are expecting that there are many people who will buy your product kasi nga it is oftentimes a commodity. Kailangan siya eh. So meron talagang bibili. So you don't have to put a profit margin of you don't have to increase your prices that much, no. You don't have to put a huge profit margin to your products kasi sure naman na may bibili kasi it is oftentimes a commodity. Whereas compared with agile supply chain products like fashion goods like this one, profit margin is high kasi you are not sure kung merong bibili, di ba? Hindi mo naman sigurado kung may bibili ng isang specific na na product mo, isang specific na type of pants, di ba? So you have to have a high profit margin para yung cost mo para mabuo yung product na yon babalik sa'yo at kikita ka kasi nga 'di ba? For example lang dito, ito. The easiest comparison I can give you. If you will, let's say for example, lean supply chain commodity, we are talking about canned goods, 'di ba? Sa canned goods. Pag ikaw magpo-produce ng 100 canned goods sa isang araw, 100 delata sa isang araw, nag-produce ka ng 100 delata sa isang araw, you are almost 100% sure that all of those products will be bought. Lahat yon mabibili within a span of, let's say for example, span of 1 week or span of 2 weeks or span of like say for example 3 to 5 days only. Mauubos yan. Yang 100 na delatang niluto mo. So, if lahat naman ng iyon mauubos, pwede ka na maglagay ng low profit margin, kahit mababa lang. Kasi sure, nakikita ka kasi nga mauubos yung produkto mo. Whereas compared with high agile supply chain, like say for example, a fashion good or clothing, tingnan na natin dito siguro mga jackets, ganyan. Or pants, sige, pants. If you will produce 100 pair of pants in a specific day, hindi mo lahat yan mauubos sa isang linggo, sa 2 linggo, sa isang buwan. Siguro sa isang buwan, mahirap na maubos yan. Siguro maubos, possible. Pero nakikita nyo, it will not, it will take too long to sell all of those products. So, kailangan meron kang high profit margin para sa span ng isang linggo, lahat na nabenta mo doon sa 100 pair of pants, lahat na nabenta mong pair of pants sa isang linggo, kikita ka na kagad kasi nga meron kang high profit margin. I hope that is understood with kung paano ko nag-explain, no? Sana naiintindihan niyo siya kahit papaano. Pero ayun, kaya hindi mo na kailangan magmahal masyado sa mga basic commodities kasi mabilis naman siyang maubos, mabilis siyang mabenta. So mabilis lang bumalik sa iyo yung kikitain mo, yung profit mo. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, high profit margin, mabagal babalik lahat ng kikitain mo para sa isang production. So dapat mataas ang profit margin mo para as early as, let's say for example, 1 week, yung amount ng pair of pants na nabenta mo sa isang linggo, babalik na kagad yung kinita mo. Yan. So, dominant cost, pag lean supply chain, more on physical cost ang mga ginagawa natin. Siguro ito more on the factories, the equipment, the packaging stuff, everything else physical, mechanical, lahat ng mga kailangan na cost na more on physical plants, no, physical equipments. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, your cost mainly comes from your marketability cost. More on gathering data for your products, gathering data sa market mo para alam mo yung needs and wants nila. So more on research driven ang cost pag agile supply chain. Yun ang difference silang dalawa. Pag lean supply chain, since high volume tayo, madalas ang ginagawang cost is more on sa physical, mga equipments, facilities, labor, ganyan. Where compared with agile supply chain, marketability cost, more on research, the data, gathering data for your business. Stock out penalties, long-term contractual and immediate and volatile. When we say stock out penalties, ito yung para siyang sort of like a shelf life ng isang produkto, no? Pag lean supply chain tayo, pang matagalan madalas yung mga produkto natin. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, more on immediate, kailangan maubos kagad, or volatile, kailangan since nagbabago-bago yung demand, kailangan mabilis mauubos yung mga produkto natin. Purchasing policy, usually pag lean supply chain, you always buy materials, you always buy resources. Whereas compared with agile supply chain, you are assigning capacity to different sectors of your supply chain. Kasi nga, 'di ba, since we are highly customizable, highly mataas ang variety na binebenta natin mga produkto sa agile supply chain, more or less doon tayo sa pag yung kakayahan, doon tayo nag-focus sa kakayahan mag-adapt, the capacity to adapt the capacity to adapt, 'di ba? A specific part of a supply chain. Information enrichment, highly desirable, of course. Ibig sabihin ng information enrichment, how much we need our data, how much we need to update our data. Highly desirable for lean supply chain, of course, para alam mo kung ano yung forecast mo in the future. Whereas agile supply chain, more obligatory, kailangan talaga ng information. And then, forecasting mechanism, more algorithmic para sa lean supply chain. You always look at the sales, you always look at the cost of your production. You always look at specific arithmetic symbols, or yun nga, mga numero. More focus sa numbers ang lean supply chain businesses. Whereas compared with agile supply chain businesses, more on consultative ang forecasting natin. You always look at data. You always look at researches. You always look at what survey or yun nga, researches, thesis data, studies, ganyan, market data. Yun ang tinitingnan natin for our forecasting mechanism. So that's it, no? Feeling ko you in that specific discussion only, you can already tell the difference of lean supply chain and agile supply chain. And when we talk about agile supply chain, feeling ko naman na-cover na natin lahat ito for our module number 13 and module number 14. If you will read this, everything else, yun na yung pinag-usapan natin. Now, let's talk about the competing on responsiveness. No? Sinabi ko kanina, di ba, it is important for an agile supply chain business to be responsive, no? To adapt to the changes. And so, yun yung tinitingnan natin. Pag tayo ay more focused on the agile supply chain, we should always be responsive, no? Ito yung pinaka-important sa atin. The top measure for fitness of a supply chain is responsiveness. So, if mataas ang level of responsiveness natin sa isang specific na supply chain, then it means to say that we are adapting an agile supply chain style of business. So, I would like to give you an example of an agile supply chain, no? And how capacity works for an agile supply chain. Let's talk about Zara, no? Pinag-usapan naman na ito in the previous modules natin. I think module 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, no? Pinag-usapan ng Zara. So, sinasabi dito that Zara has two very large distribution centers at La Coruna and Zaragoza in Spain, which sometimes may only be 50% utilized. So, paano natin nasabi na yung dalawang pinakamalaking distribution center ng Zara sa La Coruna at Zaragoza only works 50% of the time? Kasi nga, 'di ba? Etong dalawang ito, La Coruna and Zaragoza distribution centers are the two large distribution centers. So, ibig sabihin, malaki ang contribution ng production ng La Coruna and Zaragoza para sa Zara. So, ang Zara ngayon, they don't need to utilize 100% La Coruna and Zaragoza. Pwede na lang i-operate ang La Coruna and Zaragoza at 50% capacity to produce 100% capacity of utilization. Naiintindihan nyo ba? Diba? Zara doesn't have to put 100% for La Coruna and 100% capacity for Zaragoza. They only have to appoint 50% operation capacity for La Coruna and 50% operation capacity for Zaragoza in order to fulfill the 100% operation capacity of Zara. So, ibig sabihin, tig 50% lang sila. Ngayon, saan naman mapupunta yung natitirang 50% ng La Coruna at Zaragoza? Doon po papasok yung sinasabi nating agile supply chain or yung sinasabi nating pagiging responsive ng isang specific business. Let's say, for example, no, sa clothing industry, biglang may nauso. Just for the sake of example, biglang nauso ulit ang sweaters. Let's say, for example, biglang nauso ulit ang sweaters. A specific kind of sweater, siguro, let's say, for example, sweater made out of leather. Napakainit, no? Na parang hindi ata akma ngayon sa sa summer summer schedule. Pero let's say, for example, yun na yun, di ba? Biglang nagkaroon ng uso sa leather na sweater. Wow, no? It's parang weird, no? Leather na sweater. So, now then, Zara, since they're only utilizing 50% of La Coruna and 50% of Zaragoza, La Coruna Distribution Center and Zaragoza Distribution Center still has a capacity, still has an unused capacity for that specific change. Biglang nagkaroon ng uso sa leather sweaters. Then Zara can easily say, okay, let's put 25% production to La Coruna and 25% production capacity sa Zaragoza to produce leather sweaters. ganon kabilis, they are being responsive to the needs and wants of our market by utilizing the capacity of their distribution centers. And I hope, no, naintindihan nyo naman siya kahit paano. And that is the importance of understanding the capacity of a specific operation center sa isang supply chain. Gaano ba karami ang kayang i-produce ng part na to ng supply chain natin? Dito tayo ngayon mababase. Parang ganun when talking about supply chain management. So more on ano tayo? More on the responsiveness. So ngayon, ang tanong ko sa inyo, saang part ng supply chain kailangan maging responsive? Saang part ng supply chain kailangan tayo maging responsive, di ba? Dito papasok yung tinatawag natin na supply chain order decoupling point. When we say supply chain order yan, order decoupling point. When we say order decoupling point, ito yung sinasabi natin na kung hanggang saan pwedeng makita yung order ng ating mga guest. Hanggang saan lang pupunta ang order ng ating mga guest or hanggang sino lang, 'di ba? Kasi at the end of the day, we are talking about supply chain management. We are talking about the process of the production and delivery and distribution of a specific product from the first end up to our end customers, which is us, di ba, mga customers. So hanggang saan nga ba nalalaman sa supply chain yung order ng ating mga customers? Yun po ang order decoupling point. Let's say for example, ibig sabihin na ito, itong inverted triangle na to, ibig sabihin na ito po yung order decoupling point. Kung saan sa supply chain banda ang ating decoupling point or kung saan hanggang saan lang ba nalalaman yung mismong order ng ating mga guest. Pag make to stock ang business natin, so more on lean, no? Lean management supply chain. The order decoupling point is usually near the client, malayo sa supplier. The suppliers doesn't really know or they don't really have any idea kung ano yung exact order ng ating guest. More on hanggang dito lang sa supply chain na to, sa distribution part lang nalalaman yung mismong order ng ating clients. Whereas compared pag make to order or engineer to order yung mga products natin, yung order decoupling point malapit sa suppliers. Alam ngayon ng suppliers kung ano yung mismong gusto ng ating client kasi malapit yung order decoupling point natin. Ito kasing order decoupling point po, ulitin ko, ito yung order mismo ng ating guest. Ito yung gusto niya mismo talaga. So pag engineer to order or make to order or assemble to order yung ating mga produkto or supply chain, papalapit yung order decoupling point. Papalapit sa supplier. Malalaman niya ngayon kung ano yung order mismo ng guest natin or ng customer. Whereas compared pag make to stock or yung lean management supply, yung order ng guest, yung mismong order ng ating customer, dito lang banda, sa bandang dulo malapit sa client natin. So, kung mas malayo yung order decoupling point natin from the supplier, make to stock, ito yung lean management style natin, ibig sabihin talaga na ang lean supply chain management talaga is more on algorithmic ang kanyang forecasting mechanism. More on, kasi hindi naman siya consultative kasi consultative, inaalam mo from the market itself, from the customers itself kung ano yung gusto nila. Pero pag algorithmic, no, you always rely on sales, you always rely on yun nga, sales, no, yung cost mo, you forecast your purchasing based on the amount of sales on the previous quarters or previous months, no. Kaya more on algorithmic. So yung para malaman mo kung ano yung needs and wants ng iyong mga guests, more on talaga, you rely more on your own data, more on your own sales records and purchasing records and cost records. Kasi nga, malayo yung order decoupling point eh. Hanggang dito kasi siya malapit sa client natin. Whereas compared with the engineer to order or make to order or assemble to order, mas malapit yung order decoupling point sa supplier. So, ibig sabihin, highly customizable, mas alam ng supplier na, okay, ito pala yung kailangan na gawin para sa order ni client. Okay, ito pala yung kailangan gawin or kailangan meron tayong i-produce na isang produkto para sa client natin. Okay, ganito pala kailangan natin pag-assemble sa order ng ating kliyente. Alam ni supplier kung ano yung gagawin niya based mismo sa order, sa mismong order ng ating clients. Whereas compared with make to stock, you are blind. You're only making your products based on your forecast, based on your algorithmic forecast. Kasi ang layo ng order decoupling point sa client natin. Now, let's talk about postponement strategy. When we say postponement strategy, no, simple enough, ang ibig sabihin lang po niya is you stop at a specific point of production. So you now have a ample amount of space for customization. Again, pag postponement strategy, you stop at a specific point of production. Parang sabihin mo, okay, sige, hanggang dito muna ang production natin kasi from here on out, we can have different customizations so that we can have infinite numbers of end product depende sa ating maka-customize na produkto natin. The one example I can give you here so that you can better understand postponement strategy is Apple. Apple continuously shows us different kinds of products, diba? We already have Apple, I think, iPhone 11 or iPhone 12, di ko na alam. Di kasi ako nag-Apple. Pero diba, pansin nyo, pa nagre-release si Apple ng bagong iPhone, meron yan yung regular variant, tas meron yan yung mas malaki ang hard drive, mas malaki ang memory, tas meron yan yung max pa. So, diba, parang ang nangyari ngayon, they stop at a specific point of production and they did different customizations so that they can have not just one end product, but many end products. Meron silang iPhone XS, merong iPhone X, tapos hindi ko na alam, sorry, pinasabi ko, merong iPhone 11 Max, may iPhone 11 na simple lang. So, 'di ba? Ang daming end products. So, the market now can the different demands of the market can now be achieved through those customizations. Gusto ko ng iPhone pero gusto ko hindi ganoon kalaki yung RAM. Here we go. Ito yung regular iPhone namin. Gusto ko ng iPhone na medyo mataas-taas yung RAM, tapos mas maganda quality ng camera. Okay, here's iPhone Max for you. Parang ganon, di ba? Since the production stopped at a specific point, hanggang dito lang muna ang pinaka-produkto ng iPhone natin. Kasi from here on out, we can have different customizations according to the needs and wants of our customers. And that is postponement strategy. So I hope with that lecture, you guys now have an idea of what is an agile market, the difference of an agile market and lean market, and the order decoupling point and yung ating postponement strategy. So that's it for this lecture, and if you guys have questions, you can ask me. And yun nga, tulad ng sabi ko, I hope kahit paano meron kayo natutunan sa discussion na to. That's it, guys. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.